So, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. There's so much in there. So, Valie, tell me, this is part of The Secret's Out, which is something that Actors Bridge is doing, which I think is very, very exciting. So, tell me how this kind of all plays together.
Okay, this is part of our Secrets Out season, which is an entire season of plays that address topics that people don't like to talk about. So, things that are often kept secret in our society, things that are only whispered about in private conversations that we're wanting to create a community dialogue around. A friend once told me actually recently, that she thinks Actors Bridge is really good at asking the tough questions and starting difficult conversations, and so that's what we're doing.
It's absolutely incredible. Now, next fall, what made you choose to bring that one? Because it's the Nashville premiere. It was Tony nominated on Broadway a couple of years ago, so what made you decide to bring it here?
Well, it's important to Actors Bridge to do premieres whenever we can. We like to bring to Nashville plays that might otherwise not come here, and so next fall was one that I felt like bigger theater companies in town might not be able to take the risk on material like this, and so that was important to me to bring the show. And also, I've got a personal connection to this story with a lot of friends, and I think it is one of the issues that Nashville most needs to be talking about.
There's so many issues in it, and I will say Conway and I play, I guess, what you would call the odd couples. So he's the young, somewhat evangelical Christian. I'm the older, obviously, atheist, and also kind of a hypochondriac. So Conway, tell me, when you saw this, what were some of the challenges? Because we're talking about religion, we're talking about the legalities of being married or not in New York. So what was kind of your approach when you first saw it?
When I first read this play, I was like, I need to audition for this. I really hope I get this, because the character of Luke is just so rich. He is someone who you would assume would be deeply conflicted, but at the same time he's managed to achieve this kind of reconciliation of the different aspects of his life. And so approaching that as an actor, I've been working really hard to try to do it justice. To do that range, it's really putting me through the paces.
It does.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, which is part of the cool thing about it. So, Ricardo, when you look at some of these issues as a director, how do you approach, these are controversial issues, especially in the South and in Nashville, religion, that intersection of faith, and, whether it's atheism, whether it's going to the hospital and trying to see your partner, but you can't because you're not legally married, he's not out to his parents. How do you approach it as a director? Because there's a lot of touchy subjects.
There are, but the writer does a really, really good job at doing theater the way it should be done. So he basically, at the beginning of the play, there's a quote that says, "Nobody is the devil here, we're just trying to get along." And that's what he's doing, is just presenting the different issues and saying to the audience, this is the way things are, and you decide whether that's the way you should continue doing things, or do you think that you should change? And so my challenge is simply to present those things the way that they were written, but then focus on the relationships of the actors and the characters, making sure that they are real and that they come alive on the stage.
And Valie, as a producer, when you see characters like this, all these characters are obviously imperfect, but they could fall into certain categories until you really get into the meat of it. As you were looking at bringing this, because you have the father who is very, very strict in his religious beliefs. You have the freewheeling, ex-wife, that kind of thing. You have these two characters. Kind of what was your approach when you were deciding to select this with these characters that are very imperfect, but at the same time very full-fledged?
Well, I think that's the brilliant thing about the play, is that no one character gets pigeonholed. They all break stereotypes in some way, and so I think that is part of what makes it so dynamic. And also, we've got such an amazing cast that I know is really leaning into making the characters as multidimensional as they can be.
They really are. Cara McClellan, Phil Perry, Joe Blankenship, and of course Denise Hicks. It really is. It's such an incredible cast to be working with. Now, tell me a little bit too. The accident brings the characters together. Our story is told in flashback. You're basically in the hospital for a lot of this, but as equal amount is the flashback. As you look back, what makes you think that people will go ahead and say, yes, I understand this character, even if it's very right-wing, very left-wing?
Well, for Luke, I feel like Luke is very emotionally available. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and anybody reading or watching the play can can tell what he's feeling and thinking. He isn't hesitant to express that at any point, and I think that makes finding a point of empathy for the character very easy, because he's just this very confident, very open person who and really admirable. How open he is, and so I think audiences will attach to that, hopefully.
Absolutely, too. I want to make sure that we mention that we have a talk back that will be going on for a couple of the weekends. Tell us about that, Valie.
On the first 2 Sunday performances, we'll be doing talkbacks afterwards to have a chance for a deeper conversation around the issues of faith and activism and domestic partnership and all of the things that come up that the play brings up, so that we can have a more meaningful, depthful conversation about all of that stuff. So faith leaders and lawyers and activists, as well as some great couples here in town, are going to be joining us on those first 2 Sundays.
Yeah, because the topics are, if you ever wanted a hot topic play, this is certainly a hot topic. So Ricardo, too, tell me, in this play, what do you think is the biggest challenge in making the audiences understand?
I think it's not necessarily a challenge, but it's just getting the audience to see that there is so much more about being gay than just what we think there is. You know, it really broadens and deepens the meaning of being gay, and it just sort of opens their mind to more, because a lot of times we just sort of assume that people are this thing or this thing, and then we can't make sense of them if they don't fit there. So the play just basically just tells you, you know, there's a whole lot more, and you just need to accept it.
Yeah, it has so many great issues to talk about. I want to make sure that we get you the information so that you can make reservations now. Make sure you go to actorsbridge.org for all the information. It will send you to the place where you can get your tickets. Next fall premieres March 21st through April 6th. Get your tickets now, because especially with the new space, seating is limited, and I want to make sure that everybody gets there. So, all right, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
I can't wait for this. It's going to be quite an adventure.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Out and About today. We'll see you guys next time. Good night.